This Thursday, May 18th, we'll be having a free live webinar showcasing some top trader transformation principles that'll help you transform into a confident, competent, and consistently profitable trader. Click on the link in the description below to join the conversation and learn how to take your trading to the next level. Here's a quick preview of what to expect.
Imagine this scenario. You're the typical trader who looks for a trade with good past results. Whether you figured out it had good past results through back testing, or you bought a trade, or you just heard about it online, it doesn't really matter. But you got this trade, and you try it, and hey, you make money, and you're so excited because you finally found something that works. So you're going along making money, thinking you've got it all figured out, and then comes some sort of an event. We can take COVID, for example. And all of a sudden, you get this change in trading environment. The implied volatility maybe changes drastically, or the range is expansion and the price explodes like it did in COVID. And maybe you find that your wonderful trade isn't doing so well.
So John mentioned edge. Let's talk about edge. First of all, you have to understand in options trading, ultimately your edge comes from you're trading the fear and the greed of the overall market participants. You're not trading theta. You're not trading the gremlin that comes and deposits theta in your account over the weekend. You're trading the emotions of the market participants. And that's expressed in a positive manner when the historical implied volatility is less, when the historical volatility is less than implied volatility. That's what we're trading. We trade options. Now, each strategy is going to exploit that in some different ways. You're going to have some that are more bullish, some that are more bearish, some that are more aggressive from a time standpoint. Some will take on more gamma. Understanding that edge is part one. Part two is accepting that edge is going to change over time. Markets go through seasons. There's been no better example than since the 2020 crash. The markets were in a very predictable type posture and season for many, many years. That changed in 2020, had a straight up market. The market doubled from the March lows, which is complete insanity. And if no one agrees with that, then I think you probably need to check that stock markets should not double in a year from the lows. And then 2021 was certainly challenging in different ways, depending on what market you're looking at. The Russell was a huge chop, wide range, while the other markets continued to rocket ship higher. So the markets change, implied volatility changes, and that means our edges change. So the Trader Transformation Workshop really addresses this conundrum that John's laid out, right? You've got this trade, maybe it's rules-based, maybe you've added some subjectivity to it, and it's doing really well, but the market's changed, my edges changed, somebody moved my cheese. This workshop dives into details on how and why our trading edges change in the market. It goes into the cause and the effects of what's happening and how you can shift and get better aligned with the market. We look at pulling apart the components of any strategy, like John mentioned, doing back testing much quicker just by looking at a strategy. John's often done this in his live events. He'll ask for a trading strategy, and somebody will just read him the rule set, and he can tell you within minutes, if not seconds, how it's going to perform in this market, where it loses, and when it wins.
The other principle we talk about is learning to quickly and effectively create strategies without back testing. We're not making up rules and hoping. We're making up rules, and then we're taking a look and thinking about the dynamics of those rules and figuring out, before we even put it in a back tester, before we even look at analytical software, figuring out. I had to do this, by the way, when I started trading. I came in here, everybody had there were trades back then too. They were less of them, but there were trades back then, and everybody's looking for the trade rules that's going to win all the time. And they're going through the same. I went through the same thing you did. Oh, I traded these trade rules. Oh, look, they work wonderful. Look at this guy did. We didn't have back testing because we only had data for like a year at that point. But we had people who had traded them for the last 6 months or the last year. And, oh, look, he's doing wonderful. Look at this is all exciting, right? I'm going to trade that trade. I trade that trade, and then all of a sudden, it does poorly. And then we have the next one, and then we have the next one, and then we have the next one. And same thing as you guys, only we went through it faster because we weren't as sophisticated. But at some point, I just say, this stuff isn't working. What is the real underlying principle that's going to help me make money? And I literally had to learn how to create an effective strategy without knowing what the back test results were going to be. And as you know, I did fairly well. The M3 was initially created without back testing. I created that in 2007, I believe. The Bearish Butterfly was created without back testing. I didn't even have analytical back testing software at that point. All the rules came up, out of my head without having to back test them, and they proved to do well in the strategy. So we continue to do that today with a lot of stuff. Only now we will put it in back tester and see what goes on. But that is an advantage, but it's certainly not necessary. And you don't have to waste time back testing a set of rules that has no chance of actually being long-term viable in the marketplace. So they're extremely important lessons to learn with that. And then we start talking about trading psychology, right? So this is a trading performance course. So we talk about how we should be thinking about security and freedom as a trader, how to gauge the limits of what we know. One of the problems with traders is that we think we know more than we do. And it's important that you gauge how much you actually know. We have to be aware of our heuristics, our biases, and the way we frame things and how they affect our trading decisions. And we talk about the art of being adaptable, subjective traders so that we can ensure our long-term profitability in the market.
Some of the other principles, trader transformation was, and I'll show you this when we get towards the end of my slides, really gives you the opportunity to express yourself as a trader. Like, can you, John, I don't know how many trades you've created, but 14, 15 trades, maybe even more that you've never shared, and other people have too, and so on and so forth. But I've never sat down and tried to create a trade. And that was part of the homework, by the way.
I've created, I don't know, 14 or 18 trades that have made it to market. But if you look at V32, right, that's version 32, right? So.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. So
there you go.
Hundreds of different versions, right? So, but if you've never really done that, just doing that alone is a necessary part of the process. As in the journey of a trader, you need to at least try it, just to see, get into the simulator, get into the backtesting software that you have and play around with a trade. And that's where the art comes out, and it helps to change this from some sort of a binary, simply statistical endeavor. There is an art to it. There is subjectivity. There's expression that we can do. Also introduce the idea of Pareto principle, right? So when we get 80% of the way to an answer, go with it. Don't just spin your wheels until you think you've achieved some sort of perfection as it relates to whatever issue you're dealing with. And then, John, also, it's funny how when we first start out, we drive ourselves, or many of us do, to complexity, right? We need to make more complexity equals more profits.
Well, more complexity is safety, right? So people get more complex so that they avoid losing because they don't want to feel the feelings of losing and so forth, right?
Right.
So they cover up. Basically, what they're doing is they're covering up the losing scenario of their trading to themselves. In other words, they're hiding the losing scenario from themselves. That's what they're doing, so that they can use that as confidence to trade.
And this was a great reminder of how just doing the simplest things can often give you the best results.
Now is the time to transform your trading and unleash your potential. Click on the link in the description or the upper right corner of your screen now to sign up.